G'day, what is going on? It's Jacob. Appreciate you joining me for another video. In this one, I've got another client result video for you. I just received a message on Slack from a client of mine, and he said, results update. This week we had 3 clients who renewed for 6 more months, plus a new client who's come on at 9K. And so total deal value here is just under 30K. We're talking $29,400, which is amazing. And there's a couple of really key and very interesting lessons in this. So I want to tell you a little bit about this result in particular, and then I want to pull out of that the key learnings, show you how this fits into the overall model that we help our clients with. And then I think there'll be some really actionable points that you can take away and implement into your business, right? So you can see the screenshot here from our conversation over in Slack, right? Now, Slack is what I use for all of my client delivery. I've got my Inner Circle Mastermind in Slack. I've got all of my private clients where I can communicate with them directly on Slack. My team is in Slack. All of our ops are integrated into Slack. It's like we help our clients really build what I call a boutique coaching or consulting business, where they have a really nice, like, intimate relationship with their clients and everything. And we just run it all through Slack, and it makes life very easy. I'm actually in a hotel room at the moment. I just got down to Melbourne for a night. I'm catching up with Jamie, someone who I've mentored, and we've done a lot of business together. We're catching up to chat about a few things, both heading into kind of some interesting phases, and so I'm going to share some ideas. And when I'm on the road like this, I've obviously got my laptop, but when I'm not in the room, when I'm not at my computer, I can run the whole business mostly from Slack and can stay in touch with everybody. So it's a great tool. So just a bit of context around the communication here. And if you guys would like more videos on how I use it, let me know, and I'm happy to create those. Okay. So I wanted to touch on a couple of key points. Then I want to talk to you about how it what you're seeing here fits into this model, and we'll dive into the individual components. Okay, so first things first, cool little fact here is that this gentleman, this client, operates in the French market. Okay, I haven't done a ton of work with people operating in different languages. This has been an awesome experience and really, really cool to see that the fundamentals that we help our clients with around crafting their offers, around sales, around content, around building their brand, around building their messaging, completely transferable, which is amazing. It's been a lot of fun. I actually had the opportunity to meet up with this gent when I was in Italy. I was in Rome for a couple of days. I met up with 2 clients, and he lives in Switzerland, and he came down and met up with me. So it was a lot of fun, and it's great to see him continuing to crush it. He's actually just extended to work with me into a second year as well, which just really reinforces one of the key points that I wanted to get across, which is, we just had 3 clients renew for 6 months. We're talking monthly recurring revenue. We're talking long-term client relationships. And so, we're going to be working together into a second year too, which is really, really cool. And so that's a key point that I wanted to touch on today. All right. So one of the main things that we've done together is we dialed in his signature MRR offer. Okay. And so the reason I wanted to have this graphic up for you here is that you can see here, we've got our no-call sales system, right? And I should say this whole result came without him having to do free strategy sessions, like pounding the phones for 45 minutes without him having to have setters and closers and all that kind of stuff. And no long webinars, cold DMs, all that kind of stuff. The model eliminates that shit. Okay. And so I wanted to highlight this signature MRR offer piece, because this is the element here that we're really talking about. And you can see where it fits into the overall ecosystem. And here's why this is really, really cool, because when you do this correctly, the benefits are so multi-layered, right? One, you are no longer starting each month in your business from zero, right? When we started working together, he was starting from zero and climbing, right? When you structure the offer up the right way and you have this single focused MRR offer that you build everything else around in the ecosystem here, you get to a point where you're starting each month from 5K, 10K, 20K, 30K. And I can't stress enough the shift in enjoyment and fulfillment in your business when you roll into a month and you've got 30 grand locked in, you've got 40 grand locked in. And it means you can be a lot more selective about the people that you work with. It means you can actually charge more because you can be selective, because you don't need to sell. And it has this really positive compound effect, as opposed to the other way of starting each month from zero and then having to build and build and build. And if you aren't hitting certain numbers, then you might sell to people you don't really want to work with, and it's far from ideal. Okay, so what we're talking about here, this offer that he's articulating, is this signature MRR offer. And the way that we roll this out is typically we'll come up with what's the core focus going to be, and we will structure it up for either 4, 6, or 12 months, depending on the situation. And that's going to be the signature offer. Okay. Now, it really depends on the individual. And this is why it's beneficial to work with someone directly. And that's what I do with my clients, is I work with them directly on crafting this, because each business market kind of thing is different. And we want to make sure we're fitting into the right situation. It's also dependent on the individual that's running the program, right? There's pros to a 12-month commitment, but there's also cons to a 12-month commitment. There's pros to a 4-month commitment, but there's also cons to a 4-month commitment, right? And so we've got to factor in all of these elements. And when you're being shuffled into some cookie kind of thing where everybody's being told to do exactly the same thing, you don't get that kind of fine tuning to the business that you want to build and really the lifestyle that you want to be able to live. And all of this stuff directly impacts that, because how you structure up the offer is going to dictate how you work with your clients and who you work with, right? And so the key to success here is that we work with him directly on crafting this offer. Now, there's typically going to be a couple of core components, right? You've got the overarching like focus of what you'll build together, and then there's going to be some kind of digital component, right? This is where you're really building out an asset vault that helps your clients. There's probably going to be some kind of community aspect, and then there may be some kind of one-to-one aspect. And again, all of those pillars will dictate price, will dictate duration, and that's going to be dependent on the individual running it as well. And so we work together to really tailor this all in as we're working towards these common goals with our clients, right? And so the reason I love having this signature MRR offer in the model is that it gives a purpose to everything else in the ecosystem, right? Every little piece of content that we create is driving people towards working with us in that at some point in the future. When we build out this automated safety net structure here, it's got a core purpose. When we're having DM conversations, it's got a core purpose, right? It allows us to work with our clients, get them great results, work together for the long term, increase lifetime value, and then compound clients who ultimately have a core place that they're moving towards. The other thing that's not on here, which is really contained within the social consumption engine here, is if we decide to do a campaign or a launch or something like that, and let's say we run a promotion where we send out a couple of emails, we might do some posts on Facebook or Instagram or both, and it's for, say, a $500 offer, right? Let's say we're running, a little workshop. The whole point of that workshop, 1, generate a cash influx, but 2, get people to raise their hand who are paying attention that maybe haven't moved here yet, and then boom, we're all moving in that same direction. And that's another thing that we've done with this client here, is that in order to bring people into this, you've got the evergreen flow that you can see here, but we also run periodic campaigns and promotions that generate him clients. That builds up the MRR. And then when you work with your clients closely, and I'm going to touch on this now, is they will stick around, right? They stick around and they want to hang around for an extended period of time. And when they hang around for an extended period of time, they typically refer you more clients. And that's where that compounding effect really kicks in, okay? And so why do clients stay around, right? Because one of the things that comes up when I talk with people about building monthly recurring revenue is like, yeah, but how do you get people to stay around for more than 2 or 3 months, right? People will typically start experiencing churn. And I know for a fact that this gent's clients are hanging around for a long time. I know my clients hang around for a long time. And there's a lot of different reasons for it. But I want to touch on a couple of really important ones. If you've tried this model in the past in terms of like trying to get clients to stick around on an MRR type approach, it may be one, how you're selling, right? So the typical sales model for coaching and consulting isn't congruent with getting clients to hang around for the long term. It's very transactional and not very relationship driven, okay? And so the traditional model of like get traffic, book call with people that you don't really know yet, close deal, sell a 90-day thing, and then go again and go again and go again. That's just a churn and burn, very transactional approach. Whereas the way that we do things, which is different, right? And it does take a certain level of kind of finesse, is we're really working towards building this consumption engine where people come into our world through one of a couple of different ways. It could be through, a specialized growth playbook that we have for one of these platforms, right? Or it could be that we go out and get our name and our brand and our story out onto other people's platforms and then they come looking for us. Or it could be that they hear about us through an existing client, which is always beneficial because you're coming in at a high trust level. But we create this ecosystem where people can watch a video, they can read a post, they can read an email, They can listen to a podcast. You might do a live and they come hang out with you, right? They consume the assets that you've got out there in the market. If you run a promotion, they might buy a low ticket thing, right? But it's all about consumption, because the consumption online is what builds relationships at scale. And when you build those relationships properly at scale, it takes the heavy lifting off the sales process. And that's why we can sell without sales calls, right? It says here 1K to 10K. That's the majority of where our clients sit in terms of their offers. And then, but we've done this up to 50K without sales calls. If the relationship is there, you don't need to be pounding the phones all day. And the way that you build the relationships is through the experience that they have on the front end. So that's the very, very first point, is that when you sell the right way, when you focus on building the relationship up from day one and not barreling people into a transaction. Like if they're not ready, they're not fucking ready, right? Don't try and barrel them in to start with you now or make them feel guilty or tell them they're not serious. Just work with people who are ready and want to work with you, right? Yeah, it might mean that you leave a deal on the table here or there, or eventually they go buy from somebody else. But if that person isn't really ready to dive in, do you actually want to consult with them? Do you actually want to coach them, right? This is where the industry needs to make a big shift. And so how you sell will dictate how long they stay around, because it's how the relationship starts, right? It's really when that next phase of the relationship starts is when they pay you. If that's done under duress, if that's done in a high stress environment, if people feel like they've been guilted into it or been coerced into it, it just doesn't work, right? And so giving people the room to consume, to learn, to get educated about what you do and how you help people, and then just making the transaction when it's naturally ready to happen will seriously help with your retention, okay? So how you start the relationship is going to have a significant impact on how long the relationship runs for, okay? The second thing is experience, okay? You can't expect to dump people into a big group of hundreds of people and make them feel like they're special in that environment and have them stick around on a 4 to 5 figure a month retainer, right? It's just not going to happen. Whereas if you create a more intimate experience, right, which means that you can charge more, which means that you need less people in order to hit your numbers. If you can create a more intimate experience where people are getting a bit more personal experience, where people are getting a bit more personal interaction and kind of high touch support, they will stick around longer, because you start to create this relationship where they know that, hey, I can get in touch with Jacob and his team. If I've got a question, they're going to get back to me quickly, right? And you become a core part of their business and ultimately of their life. I end up having conversations with my clients that start to really steer outside the realms of business. But when you understand business deeply enough, you realize that a lot of those other factors, relationships, blah, 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 they directly impact the business. And so when you've got this really close connection with your clients, you can start to explore those other areas, which means that they stick around for longer. But for you as the coach and for you as the consultant, I think you're going to find when you approach things this way, it becomes a hell of a lot more enjoyable. Okay, so that's the second reason, is the actual experience once they're in. And then the third thing, and this is something I can make more kind of isolated content on, is this concept called selling the plan. Okay, and this is for the initial transaction, and it's for every transaction thereafter when you want people to renew up. You've got to become really good at creating a clear vision with that person of exactly what you are going to work on, right? You can start doing that in your content, and you can also do a one-to-one in the DMs, and then you can do it through a quick one-to-one chat when it comes to renewing, right? It's about what exactly we're going to work on over the next 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, getting that really, really clear, making sure that both parties are aligned on it. And when both parties are clear on it, and especially when the person who's purchasing is really excited about it, boom, that's when the transaction happens. And that's when selling becomes really, really easy. People don't actually really care too much about like the intricacies of all the deliverables and shit. They just want to work on that thing with you, right? So get really good at developing a clear plan that you're going to work on with people. I would recommend that you have a pretty clear structured plan that you work on with the majority of your clients. And that's what you can see here with ours. This is our kind of overall model. But then when we communicate with individuals as part of the sales process or as part of the renewal process, we can also tailor it, right? Because some people have different things in place. People have different goals. They might want to structure things up in a slightly different way, and we'll let them know if we can help them do that. Okay, so selling the plan on what you're going to work on together is another really, really key way to get people onto MRR and to keep them on MRR. Okay, the other key thing that I just want to mention that really ties into kind of how we sell and how this gentleman sells is that another thing that we help our clients with is map out this ecosystem, because it goes so hand in hand with the core offer that's a really, really critical part of it as well. So a couple of key lessons here. I recommend that you build your coaching or consulting business around a core offer, one core offer that allows you to build 4 figures per client per month in recurring revenue, right? It gives everything a core central focus to move towards. Okay, whether you sell on the phone or you don't sell on the phone, this is just how we do things. I would recommend that you have that and you build everything around it. Doesn't mean you can't run campaigns, doesn't mean you can't do a low ticket thing here, there, whatever, but have it feeding that one thing. It gives you a very, very clear focus. That's tip number 1, and results like this start to happen when you have that focus. The second thing is, think about these elements if you've had issues with clients sticking. Think about how you're selling and how the relationship started. Think about the experience once they were in there, and think about, am I creating a clear plan of what we are actually going to work on together? If any of these are lacking, you're going to start to see challenges in getting people to hang around, okay? And then the third thing is, each day, once you've got this offer in place, and once you've got your sales process in place, right, you've actually really only got one job, aside from working with your clients, is to build out this social consumption engine, is to build out a world where people can watch videos, listen to podcasts, come hang out with you live, read your posts, read your emails, get to know about you, what you do, and the mission that you are on. And if they consume and they consume and they consume enough, the day will come, they'll have that light bulb, you'll start working together. And when you do it that way, you're selling the correct way, and that's where you build really, really long-term relationships. Okay, if you want to watch a video that dives into this in more detail, you can get access to this page below. You just enter your email, and this video runs for about 12 minutes, and it dives into this graphic in more detail and kind of walks through the individual components. And then you can get in touch if it's something that you want to build together. But I wanted to share this really cool client result with you, and kind of the key takeaways, particularly around this monthly recurring revenue piece, retaining clients, and how kind of the ecosystem ties into all of that. So I appreciate you hanging out with me in this one. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.